I'm Stan, and today I'm going to be reading to you The Lambton Worm. There once was a young man named John Lambton. He was the heir of Lambton Castle, just down from the River Wear. Unfortunately, John was lazy and spoiled, and all he wanted to do was sit by the river and go fishing. One day, while he was avoiding work, he caught something on the end of his line. Maybe it was a cod, or a shark, or a goldfish. But when he pulled it out of the water, he saw that it was a worm. And not just any worm, it was slimy and oozing and grey, and it had pointy teeth. Now, I don't know if you've ever found a slimy, oozing grey worm with pointy teeth before, but my advice is to put it back where you found it and leave it alone. Or you can always tell a grown-up, so long as the grown-up is as brave as you. What you definitely should not do if you find a slimy, oozing grey worm with pointy teeth is pick it up and put it into your bag. But that's exactly what John did. He was wandering home, but he could feel the worm wriggling around in his bag. I don't think the worm was very happy. But John didn't care about the worm. He was just getting creeped out by it. So he picked the worm out of his bag and he threw it into the ancient well outside Lambton Castle. He wiped his hands and he forgot all about it. Now, some of you might have lived in a well before. I have. It was a very difficult 6 months for me and I wouldn't recommend it. But the worm couldn't escape. He lived at the bottom of the well for years and years and years. And he began to grow bigger and stronger and scarier. John also grew bigger and stronger through the years, and he grew into a fine young man. He stopped being lazy and spoiled, and he became a knight. He sailed off to distant lands to fight in the Crusades, which I think we can all agree is a pretty brave thing to do. It was when John was away that strange things started to happen. Sheep and cows from nearby farms started disappearing. Just a few at first, then more and more until there were practically none left. And the drinking water started to taste horrible. And in the middle of the night you could hear a low, slithering noise in the fields. Maybe it was just the wind, some villagers said out loud at breakfast, but no one was convinced. One morning, the villagers woke up to find a slimy, oozing trail all through the fields. Not knowing what it was, they followed the trail all the way to the ancient well near Lambton Castle. Now, what they saw was truly terrifying, and I wouldn't blame you if you decided to stop watching now. In fact, I'll give you a little pause. You're still here. Wow, well done. So, the villagers saw the worm, but it had transformed into a giant, horrible beast. Imagine a scaly, oozing monster the size of your house coming towards you, gnashing its razor-sharp teeth and howling and hissing like 1,000 angry rattlesnakes. If its teeth didn't kill you, then its poisonous skin would, or it could choke you with its giant, writhing body. The villagers began to have second thoughts about following the giant slimy trail and quickly made the decision to run back to their homes and lock their doors. Not that a locked door would protect them against a giant poisonous worm, but if it made them feel safer, then fair enough. Over the next few months, the worm terrorized the land, destroying homes, killing sheep, and sometimes people. It was too powerful for anyone to stop it. Even Lord Lambton in his castle was an older man now, and he couldn't fight the beast. One day, his son John returned from fighting to discover what had happened to his homeland. When the villagers told him about the worm, John had a memory pop into his head of the riverbank years ago. He was shocked. He realised that this was the same worm. It was my fault that the beast destroys our land, he declared. So it is I who must rid Lambton of this evil menace. First things first, John thought. I need some help. He went to a nearby witch. Maybe she knew a thing or two about slaying dragons. The witch said that John could do it, but he was going to need armour, sharp armour. The witch also had a warning. Mark my words, she said. If you slay the beast, you must then slay the first thing you see when you return to Lambton Castle. Otherwise, the Lambtons will be cursed for generations. Now, I tend to listen to warnings of wise witches. The one time I didn't, I ended up cursed with a donkey's tail on my bum. But luckily, John made an oath to follow the witch's advice too. If he was to take the worm's life, he would have to sacrifice something in return. Next, he went to the blacksmith, who made him a brand new suit of armour. It was made of black metal and had spikes coming out of it. John was ready. He went to the well and discovered the giant beast. He was scared. He had never seen anything like it before, but he knew what he had to do. With a scream, he raised his sword and ran towards it. But the worm was 50 times his size and battered him out of the way. John staggered to his feet, but the worm was now right over him. With its long, slithering body, it wrapped itself around John to choke the life out of him. John couldn't move. He was trapped. The beast squeezed John, but the sharp armour cut into the flesh of the worm, who let out a howl. John seized the moment. He took his sword and started slashing and stabbing the beast. Eventually, it fell into the River Wear. He was dead. Relieved, John returned home to give his father the good news. He saw his father at the door. It was only then that he remembered the warning of the witch. He had to kill the first thing he saw when he came home. John had the hardest, cruelest choice to make. And as he stood face to face with his dad, he couldn't do it. Even though he knew he had cursed himself and his family, he had killed enough. And he would spend the rest of his life being kind to all living things.
Wished lads had your gob, I tell you all an awful story. Wished lads had your gobs, I tell you put the worm. Wished lads had your gobs, I tell you all an awful story. Wished lads had your gobs, I tell you put the worm.